Okay, okay. Sorry, I did not ask. I should have asked again.
No, sorry.
We are live,
We are
Yashasvi.
live. We are live, sir.
Okay, okay. Yeah.
We'll start the session, Ankit? Or
We can wait for a minute
all
and
right.
after that,
Okay.
yes.
So, Yashasvi, what did you have for breakfast? Let me ask that. Since I failed at asking what about lunch.
I had poha, sir.
Arey
Sorry,
wah.
sambar. I had poha sambar.
Thank you, thank you.
What did you have?
I had dosa.
I was expecting that, but still, I say okay.
Madrasi ho na.
Okay. So, okay.
Hmm.
It's
Yeah,
late.
we can go live, I guess.
Okay. All right. So we'll start the session.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. You can start, so we are live.
Okay. Hi. Thank you, Whitebird Trails, for mm, risking with this. Uh, these are thoughts that I have kind of accumulated over nearly 10 years now. I think I was very late in watching the film Om Shanti Om. Like when it released in 2007, I was this failed aspiring filmmaker who thought, okay, who had a very Puritan notions. Like when you fail, if when you're an aspirant, you become Puritan. When you're a failed aspirant, then you become more Puritan. So that was the stage in which actually there was a time when the film released and I had not watched it. It's only after a few years that I watched, and I was by then things had changed, and I was blown. Matlab, what a film! And uh, I started discussing this with some of my very close friends. Okay, and things started kind of evolving. These thoughts have been evolving over the years, and it's just a notes of that. Okay, so but yes, when I started discussing, of course, most of my friends, in a very playful manner, would be like, kind of dismiss it off, like you're overdoing this, you're overreading this, and all of that. And that, I'm thankful to those friends also, because okay, the more this, because I couldn't contain this love that I have for Om Shanti Om, and whenever any friend actually kind of said, Ki, Acha, no, you're overreading it, I wanted to prove it even the more. Ki, no, I'm not doing it. There is something in this. So that kept, that's how this entire thesis or hypothesis, whatever you call it, has emerged, and here it is. And yeah, Whitebird Trails, you have been conducting really serious sessions with people like MK Raghavendra sir and all of them. So this is going to be a much more fun session than not so serious, but still very serious. Serious in a very different sense. Okay, so now, okay, Om Shanti Om is a film which, the moment I say, okay, I love Om Shanti Om, the first thing people ask me, like, are you serious? Are you being sarcastic? And I have to tell that, no, I'm being very serious. Okay, and it's largely because Om Shanti Om doesn't present itself like a very serious film. It's very playful, and well, that's one of the reason I think we actually kind of do not actually kind of take it very seriously, because it pretends like it's not taking it itself very seriously. I'll start I wouldn't even call this an interpretation of Om Shanti Om. I would rather call it as a deciphering or a reading of Om Shanti Om. A film which was released in 2007 and directed by Farah Khan. So let's actually kind of and yeah, if any one of you find this really bullshit, like many of my friends found it, yeah, you can leave, say, screaming "Bhago!" Okay, okay, that's the reference. Uh,
So far, we are enjoying, sir.
okay, and we haven't even started, Yashasvi. I don't know what you're enjoying. Probably. Yeah. So let's try understanding where the film locates itself. Every text probably has an entry point. It needs to be entered I mean, there is an entry door. I mean, there is an entry point, and it's only when we enter through that we can actually kind of get to know the art in a much better sense. So to me, I mean, for me, it was like, okay, I mean, where is what is the entry point for Om Shanti Om? How do we actually kind of enter this text and actually then open it up so that we can understand what is happening over here? Uh, One of the first clue that we get is in that very scene. I mean, Bhago, that where they are shooting this Mother India wala replication and all of that. So something very interesting happens in that scene. That okay, when the heroine of the film, which is played by Deepika Padukone, she's not coming out of the tent, and she's actually. I mean, the producer has to come and then talk to her, and then she comes out. And before she comes out, the director goes and approaches. I mean, tells the producer कि अच्छा, I mean, हमारे creativity का तो ये पूरा ये हो गया है. Then actually the producer says कि you have to finish the shooting today itself. And then the director Partho Roy, that's the name of the character and played by Satish Shah, he says, yeah, I mean, I'm all set and I have actually तीन तो angle लगाया है, एक सत्यजीत रे angle, एक Bimal Roy angle and एक Gurudutt angle. And then the producer of the film, Mukesh, played by अर्जुन रामपाल से एक मनमोहन देसाई एंगल लगाओ वही काम आता है. That's one of the key points which is an entry point for me. Okay. Later in that scene, after actually, I mean, Shah Rukh Khan, I mean, or Om Prakash, Makhija, played by Shah Rukh Khan, saves the character Shanti from the fire, and then he is actually being nursed by his friend Pappu. Pappu says something to him. He says कि यार अच्छा ये तो शुक्र मानो कि I mean, तुम्हारा सिर्फ पीठ जल गया, मुंह जल जाता तो राम से ब्रदर्स के फिल्म में काम करना पड़ता तुम्हें. That's another. It's a continuation of the same entry point for me. What's happening over here, and also, I mean, actually, the way the film begins with that song of Om Shanti Om being sung by Rishi Kapoor and Shah Rukh Khan actually kind of entering that particular scene. This, I mean, the what to say, I mean, the insertion of earlier films, be it in the opening credits or in the song Dum Tana, that song which happens. So when you look at all of these things, we actually kind of get a hint that the film is trying to locate itself in a very specific genre, in a very specific location of a popular masala Bombay cinema. By saying that, okay, I mean, it is very conscious of it. By saying that, okay, I mean, Satyajit Ray angle hai, Bimal Roy angle hai, Gurudutt angle hai, Ramse brother angle hai. But no, we are sticking to Manmohan Desai, the popular masala cinema, and that's where actually it locates. And it actually kind of, also in the insertion of all these earlier films, it is locating itself in that very location itself, and that becomes a very important thing because Om Shanti Om is not just telling us the story of Om and Shanti and Om again. It is also telling us the story of Bombay cinema. and mm, and the filmmaking part of it, and the entire ecosystem of the film industry and the film culture is not just a setting and a backdrop for Om Shanti Om. It is something more than that. The film is also about all these things. Like the end credit kind of reveals the faces of the generally unknown hands of filmmaking, including the director, producer, the spot boy, the camera unit. I mean, it kind of reveals their face to us in a very similar way. In a very similar way, Om Shanti Om as an entire narrative, it reveals to us various aspects of Bombay cinema, its history, its myths, its journey, its production, its style, its epic nature, its folk nature, its textures, its stereotypes, its archetypes, and its gossips, and its the superstitions within it, and the undercurrents of it, and of course the mystery and magic of cinema. It's when we actually kind of it's important for us to look at that. Okay, it is specifically about a particular kind of cinema. Now let's try to look at see how where the director locates herself. I mean, that becomes that also kind of reveals as to why this film is the way it is. Uh, because Om Shanti Om is not just a history. I mean, it's not a documentary. When I say, I mean, the title of this talk has been called Autobiography of Bombay Cinema. No, it's not a history. It's not even interested much in the history of it, but it's interested in the entire ecosystem of it. And it is in, I mean, the film is in love with everything about cinema. It's like Shah Rukh Khan tells Deepika Padukone at one point, मुझे फिल्म के बारे में हर चीज अच्छी लगती है. In a very similar way, the film is interested in everything related to cinema. So uh, the whispers, the gossips, the myths, the culture, everything about this entire world of Bombay cinema, it's interested in. And hence probably, and when the film, the opening credits start, we see this film shooting happening of the film Curse, and we see Farah Khan among the audience. She's dancing as an audience, as a fan girl. She's when the film begins, she's not identifying herself as the director. वहां पे सुभाष guy है already. But Farah Khan could have, I mean, she could have avoided that, I mean, making that presence over there. But she identifies in the very beginning as an audience or as a fan girl. And that's a very interesting thing, because that's how Farah Khan looks at herself as while she's making Om Shanti Om. Uh, and also in the end credit, she comes again. And she's the last person to come. And at that point of time, there is no one to cheer her for her and all of that. It's almost like it doesn't matter who she being the director. I mean, neither for her nor for anyone else, nor for Om Shanti Om itself as a text. And it's also very interesting to notice that when in the opening credits, when we see Farah Khan, she's standing next to Shah Rukh Khan, who actually catches the quote which actually kind of Rishi Kapoor has thrown. She's watching the filmmaking and also participating in the filmmaking as a side. I mean, she's one of those crowd over there, and she's among the audience or the fans of Rishi Kapoor, and observing them and also participating with them. So this quality of Farah Khan is actually kind of driving the whole film. Because she is, I mean, the film is locating itself in as a popular masala Bombay cinema, quintessential. And the director is I mean, identifying herself not as the director but as a fan girl largely. Okay, so now let's move to the next part of, I mean, this film. What is this film has some very interesting qualities, at least looking through my eyes. Okay, so it begins with a jacket thrown from a 1980s film, which is caught by a 2007 film. Okay. The hero of the 2007 film jumps onto the stage of the 1980s film and starts dancing to its tunes. The heroine of the 2007 film actually kind of is romancing with the yesteryear film ka heroes. Okay. So there is a continuous interaction that Om Shanti Om is having with the Bombay cinema's tradition itself, its history, its style, its everything. Okay. So there is a constant interaction. And it's not just that, okay, Om Shanti Om. I mean, it begins with actually, I mean, as I said, I mean, the 2007 film catches the quote which is thrown by a 1980s film. Okay, it's borrowing something. Okay, in a very similar way, Om Shanti Om as a film actually kind of it hints at how it is borrowing from a large family of films altogether. Okay, uh, and it also kind of makes a reference to the other tellings of the story. And it reveals itself, I mean, it reveals itself and its craze about films and its craze around films by actually kind of opening itself in this particular manner, where actually it reveals how it's interacting with the tradition and how it is a part of that whole family. It's only after creating this setting of interaction between the past and the present that actually the film goes on to tell the story about Om and Shanti and Om. Okay, and actually it's also making reference to all the films that have been made earlier, right? And that is a very interesting thing, because let me divert, not divert, I mean, what to say, like, deviate a bit or divert, whatever. Okay, I don't know what's the right word, but going to the epic of Ramayana. I mean, let me make it clear once again over here that Ramayana, Mahabharata, these are not religious texts according to me. They are poetry, and when I make reference, I make reference to them as mythologies and epics. Okay, so in the Balakanda of Ramayana, what happens is it's Narada who comes and tells Valmiki the story of Ramayana. Valmiki then tells it to Love and Kush, and Love and Kush go and tell it to Ram. Okay. In a very interesting way, Ramayana, in its very opening chapter, actually kind of tells about the multiple tellings of Ramayana. It's an indirect or a metaphoric way of saying that, okay, this is not the first time this story is being told. That's how I have read the Balakanda. And Om Shanti Om almost follows the same pattern by telling that, okay, I mean, I'm not, I mean, Om Shanti Om is, I mean, the most unpretentious film, I guess. It's never trying to say that, okay, I'm telling you something new. It's saying that, okay, no, I'm borrowing everything from the past. I'm borrowing everything. I mean, this has been told already and I'm telling it again. Okay. So, I mean, it follows the structure of Ramayana in a very interesting manner. And there are a few other similarities between Om Shanti Om and Ramayana. I mean, in Ramayana, Ram has to be told the story of him. Love and Kush tell him the story about himself. I mean, and something happens over there. In a similar way, I mean, Om has to be told story about himself. I mean, about him. That story has to come back, and then the story will move forward. This and I mean, uh, story as being a reflection of yourself and actually a revelation of yourself. That element that element is caught by Om Shanti Om also, like it happens in Ramayana and like it happens in a lot of folk tales and epics. Uh, and also, there is one. I mean, since I've spoke about the retellings. Okay, I mean, and I'll elaborate this at a later stage also. Uh, we all listen to the stories of Ram. I mean, there is a form of art in this part, my part of the world called Yakshagana, and largely, mostly, it's the performance of Ramayana and Mahabharata. People who, I mean, it happens through the night, all through the night. Okay, it begins late in the evening and goes till the next morning, and it's always the story of Ramayana and Mahabharata, which people know. But still, people go again and again just to actually kind of enjoy the performance, the retelling of it. Okay, so the story is known. There is nothing new about it, but still, it engages you in a very similar way. Om Shanti Om is not telling us any new story, but it's retelling something, and it's telling it in a interesting way. But every retelling differs from the original, though it actually is similar. It's still not the same, and that is the quality that Om Shanti Om also has. It's telling a story which has already been told. It's make, I mean, and it's revealing itself. I mean, it's standing purely bare in front of us. I mean, very unpretentiously. And Om Shanti Om not just tells a story which has been told already, but it tells itself, its own story thrice in the film. The first half actually kind of tells the second half also, second half tells of the first half also, and there is this one song which comes in the end which actually kind of tells the entire story in at once. But still, I mean, it has the, I mean, it's telling and retelling. This whole the cycle of storytelling which actually goes on. Om Shanti Om actually taps onto that tradition, that culture of storytelling. uh, and very interestingly, and this is another parallel. If you actually kind of look at the epics, I mean, since I made a reference to Ramayana, in Ramayana, the protagonist Ram, at least in Valmiki's Ramayana. The difference between Ram and his next avatar, Krishna, is that okay, Ram is actually kind of controlled by fate. Krishna is someone who controls the fate. Okay. And in Om Shanti Om, when actually Om uh, Prakash, he is totally being controlled by other forces. And when he becomes the next avatar or the reincarnation as Om Kapoor, suddenly he's in control of everything. And not to miss, the whole purpose of Om Kapoor becomes like what it is for Krishna, Dharma Samsthapanarthaya, the restoration of justice. Okay. So somewhere actually, I mean, Om Shanti Om is actually kind of tapping onto a rich storytelling tradition that has been very prominent in the subcontinent. And it's not just Ramayana and Mahabharata. Even Katha Sarita Sagar has innumerable stories of where actually, I mean, there is a birth, rebirth, there is death, and there's a loss of memory. Then you have to remember something. Then, and actually, through the recognition of a past, that there is a recovery that is happening, and that's a repeating theme in Katha Sarit Sagar also. Uh, so in all these sense, okay, I mean, the Bombay cinema has been is following that tradition of storytelling. It falls into that legacy of storytelling, and probably that is why I have been referring to it as Bombay cinema and not Bollywood. Bollywood is, it would imply that it's something similar to Hollywood. No, I mean, something else is happening over here in Bombay cinema totally. Because it probably falls into the legacy of the storytelling and not performance as such. Uh, this probably can be this is something which I'm curious about, and if some scholars have written about it, someone can bring it to my notice. Like, is there actually an Indian tradition of filmmaking? I don't know. To me, largely, it looks like films have actually kind of adapted themselves to the tradition of storytelling. Anyway, I've located it where the film locates itself in the Bombay cinema, where the director locates herself, and where the film is also locating itself in the larger storytelling tradition. Now, actually, let's come to Bombay cinema itself. Once, actually, Kundan Shah, while speaking about Gurdat, he made the statement that every filmmaker makes only one film and makes it again and again. And in the context of Gurdat, he explained it by saying that, okay, in Pyasa, it's about the tortured poet, and in Kagas Ka Phool, it's the tortured director, and in Sahib Bibi Aur Gulam, it's the tortured woman. But it's the same story of torture, which is actually kind of repeating itself. Okay. And there is this another story that I've heard, and I don't know whether how authentic it is, but still, let me tell the story. Um It seems when Salim and Javed had written this film, Diwar, they were looking. It seems Javed Saab called Gulshan Rai, who was the producer, and said, "Here, no, we have written something. So, would you like to hear?" And Gulshan Rai, being the producer, it seems he said something like, "You'll have to tell me in 2 minutes whatever the story is. Then I can give you an appointment." And it seems Javed Saab, being Javed Saab, the witty and the sharp and intelligent man that he is, since he said, 2 minute kya, 2 line mein bata dunga. And it seems Gulshan Rai was very intrigued by this, and he was like, Acha, I mean, I am curious now. Like, okay, fine, come tomorrow. And it seems Javed Saab went the next day, and he was like, yeah, I'm here. And it seems Gulshan Rai said, 2 line mein. And Javed Saab was like, ha, 2 line mein. Gulshan Rai is more curious not about what the story is or what it is now. I mean, he is more curious like how can anyone tell story in 2 lines? And since Javed Saab said, first half Mother India, second half Ganga Jamuna. And for Gulshan Rai, being the producer, it was a formula which had clicked and which had worked, and he was like, okay, he immediately signed. I don't know how true this is, but this is something which I heard from someone some inside story. I mean, even then, I don't know whether it's factually true or not, or whether it's a myth. Uh, what this whole, I mean, if you actually kind of look at Diwar now, it actually, I mean, the first half is Mother India and second half is Ganga Jamuna. Again, this actually hints at the stories being retold, and it's this. I mean, Om Shanti Om does the same thing by of retelling the story. And Bombay cinema largely has been retelling stories. The same stories being said again and again in different manners, in different style, in different era. It's like Devdas being, I mean, सहगल का देवदास है, फिर बिमल रॉय का देवदास है, फिर बंसाली का देवदास है, then Anurag Kashyap comes with his own devdas. In between all of that, I mean, Gurudutt tries to make Pyasa also another kind of devdas. So similar stories have been told again and again within the Bombay cinema tradition also. And two films I can recollect. I mean, at this point of time, I'm able to remember Tamasha, Imtiaz Ali's Tamasha, actually kind of making that reference कि एक ही कहानी बार बार कही जाती है, which was almost like, I mean, Imtiaz Ali trying to give a justification for an observation that was made about his own films, that okay, I mean, he keeps recycling the same thing. And also in a film called Photograph, where actually, I mean, in the end, where actually, I mean, this couple are having a conversation, and Nawazuddin Siddiqui's character says, हर फिल्म में वही कहानी होती है, and he tells it कि अच्छा फिर इन दोनों में प्यार हो जाता है, फिर बाप मना करता है. So it's, I mean, it's something which is aware. I mean, that people in the who follow the tradition are aware of this tradition, where actually of this actually the retellings that are been happening. And Om Shanti Om captures this element in a very prominent way by of retelling, uh, and it it, it it kind of explodes largely in the curse kind of climax that actually it kind of plans. And the character of Papu, played by Shreyas Talpade, when actually the plan is being planned, he actually warns the character Shah Rukh Khan, Om Kapoor, saying that to curse climax jaisa dikha ke, I mean, it knows that it's a retelling now. But again, it's a retelling. It's actually kind of referring that okay, it has been said before. This style has been done before. This story has been told before, and we are telling it again now. But it is told in a different manner. The story is the same, but andaze bayan, what Ghalib would call as andaze bayan, or it's that what happens. The same story is being told in a different style, in a different manner. And it's a different package altogether now. It's almost like Darde Disco. Om Kapoor, just before that song is actually kind of played, he actually says, "Dard ki kawali to main kar chuka hoon." Like that has been, I mean, कहानी तो वही है, दर्द की है. But now it has to be told in a different manner. मैं कव्वाली वो कर चुका हूँ ना, अब क्या दर्द डिस्को एक नए अंदाज में पेश कर रहा हूँ. So it's the same dard but in a new tongue, and it's a new style. Okay. So there is this whole repetition of stories that is happening. And probably, I mean, somewhere actually kind of, I mean, now this is, if you look at just the narrative thread of the film, the first half is almost foreshadowing the second half, and the second half is recollecting the first half. So this kind of what to say, this echoing is something which, I mean, or the retelling or recurrences is not very specific only to storytelling, but also to our lives probably. But every time it, I mean, so I mean, probably that is why the saying comes that history repeats itself. But honestly, history doesn't repeat itself. It rhymes. It echoes. Okay, because every time there is something slightly new. Like all the references made to the older stories are there in Om Shanti Om, but still it is something new. There is some new element which comes in, which makes it not a repetition, but a rhyming, but an echo. Uh, so Darde Disco, not just, I mean, it speaks about the new style, which has, I mean, new packaging, new way, new style, new manner, new expression for the same old story. in a similar, I mean, in a similar sense, I mean, so many shifts that, I mean, there's a new expression that's coming in, a new style comes in, new technique comes in. Filmmaking is so much more, and actually Om Shanti Om hints at the similar shifts and changes that have happened in many other aspects also, not just in the expression of a certain emotion or a certain story. There is if Darde Disco is actually showing the shift that has happened in the style of expression, there are other shifts also that is happening within the film industry, in the film culture. And Om Shanti Om hints at all of that also in a very interesting and in a very, I mean, it underlines them very specifically in a very, it highlights them. Uh, let's start with the technique. Okay, I mean, there are two sequences, very interesting sequences which come. One is the Yenna Raskala sequence, where actually, I mean, there is one fight sequence. The way the fight sequence is being shot over, the technique in which it is actually, I mean, they are flying, and then there's this whole collision that happens, and there is this other fellow saying, "Wah, kya flying hai! Wah, kya flying hai!" At a later stage of the film, there is this sequence of Mohabbat Man, and again, Mohabbat Man has to take a flight. The entire technique of actually how to make this actually kind of flight possible has changed. The technology has the technique, technology, everything has evolved at this point of time. That is a shift that has come in. Om Shanti Om captures not just the shift in expression, but also the shift in technique in which films are being shot. The first half is largely studio based, the second half is not. A studio system which existed at one point of time has collapsed. That shift has happened historically, and that's an important shift that has happened in the history of cinema, and Om Shanti Om captures that shift too, that history too. And there's a shift that has happened in the acting style itself. The way Bela Makhija, played by Kiran Kher, acts, the way Om Prakash acts, the way Om Kapoor acts, the acting styles are all different, indicating at different stages of history, different styles of acting, but nevertheless, they all belong to the same family of Bombay cinema. Uh, and also, I mean, film publicity is something which is a very important aspect in the film culture, and Om Shanti Om captures that aspect also, and the shift that's happening in that realm also. When in the first half of the film you see this huge hoardings, hand painted hoardings, posters of, I mean, Sholay hai and Excite Battery ka hai, then koi Vajradanti ka bhi hai shayad, and then of Dreamy Girl, not to forget, I mean, it's hand painted. Okay, I mean, it's done by hand. In the second half, when actually in the same spot you actually see these posters made out, it's a flex, it's not hand done anymore. That is a shift that has happened in that publicity culture. And also in the first half, you see all the posters in the house of Bela Makhija and Om Prakash. Again, the posters are hand done, I mean, like hand done paintings. And in the second half, when actually he comes back, you see these printed posters of Yes Boss and Mohabbate and all of it. These are, the technology has changed over that. The film publicity and the material, there is a different history to that, and there is a shift that has happened in that realm of the film culture also, and Om Shanti Om captures that, though it might come in the background of the but it's still a part of that mise en scène, I mean, and it's something which the eyes cannot skip. And though all these shifts are happening, there is a common thread which actually kind of runs through and connects the history throughout, and probably that is actually the connect which it makes, I mean, which is largely that Bombay cinema has, I mean, its source of energy has been tapping on the emotions. Okay, and actually it becomes very evident within Om Shanti Om, when actually in the filmfare function Subhash Gai comes and actually says that a good actor is a one who actually kind of brings the soul of another character into his own character and then brings out the emotions of it. So, I mean, though the bodies might change, the soul keeps remains the same. When Om Prakash reincarnates as Om Kapoor, the body has, I mean, the person has changed, but the soul is the same. And almost like, I mean, the incidents of past actually kind of linger even in the present. I mean, an accident, fire accident, it has been turned into a fire phobia when he reincarnates. So the memories keep alive, I mean, across life. uh, and though again though the styles and manners and the shifts that happen in history, there is a common thread. In a very similar way, when it's Darde disco, though the Dard ka bayan has become disco, focus on the lyrics. I mean, this might be a very consciously done thing by Javed Akhtar. I don't know. The words in this song Darde disco are all like Gulposh, Sargoshi, Anjuman, Junoon, Ranjish, all things that we have heard, Gulam Ali singing, Jagjit Singh singing, and all of that. And it's coming as a Darde disco. Okay. So, though the expression changes, there is something, I mean, it hints at the language of Hindustani. I wouldn't even call it Urdu. Okay, I'll call it Hindustani. Hindustani language, which has been the language of Bombay cinema, that has kept, I mean, that becomes the continuous thread. Okay, though, I mean, there are all shifts happening, but still there is something which is actually kind of which keeps the tradition alive, which keeps that legacy alive, which keeps that memory alive, which keeps that thread going. And also, I mean, the film Om Shanti Om, while it's showing us a shift in the publicity, in the acting style, in the studio to the real, and the techniques that has been, it also shows indicate, I mean, it hints at the shift that has come in the power structure within Bombay cinema, probably. It's like since we were talking about Darde Disco, I mean, what happens is just before, I mean, Darde Disco का idea कहाँ से आता है? Neither from the director nor from the producer, but from the actor, है ना? I mean, it hints at the actors in intervention in storytelling, and whether it's true or a myth, we do not know. But it's a gossip that we all have heard and we all have cherished. Actually, I mean, kind of like हाँ 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 यार वो अपना कहानी खुद लिखता है types. So, and actually, I mean, so the actor has come into the power in the second half. Contrast this with the scene with which actually we began, where actually the producer comes and tells the director कौन सा angle लगाना है. In the first half, it's the producer who is in the power. I mean, who is holding the power. In the second, it's almost the stardom actually kind of actually has taken the power or has come on the equal footing with the producer. I mean, is a equal power holder over there. Mm, uh, and also, I mean, not to miss at this point of time, and probably this whole coming of stardom, what it has brought about also is a shift from what we can call as uh, actors playing archetypes to actors playing stereotypes. I mean, this is not me, but I mean, Ashish Nandi, etc. They have actually kind of hinted at, I mean, how Amitabh Bachchan plays the Karna archetype and all of that. But when it comes to Shah Rukh Khan, and he largely stereotypes himself, and that also that's something which I'm not saying. Om Shanti Om is also very conscious of it, and he tells in the Filmfare nomination, you see the same thing Shah Rukh Khan doing again and again. There is a pressure of stardom on Shah Rukh Khan or the actors, which has, I mean, which makes them stereotype themselves. That becomes a signature, that becomes a style, though that is not a signature or a style, but it's a stereotyping. But yeah, that shift also happens. That is not a, I mean, see, the character of Rajesh Kapoor in the earlier in the first half of the film is not getting stuck in a stereotype. They have a style and mannerism of their own. They have their signature style, but they are not stereotyping themselves. But in the second half, Shah Rukh Khan, the Om Kapoor has to stereotype himself. He has to repeat himself. He has to recycle himself. Okay, so that is also a shift that has happened, and Om Shanti Om captures that shift that has happened also in the industry. And also, I mean, you see, I mean, how actually, I mean, the actor, I mean, in the first half, I mean, Mukesh comes and actually speaks to Shanti, and Shanti gets back to shooting. In the second half, actually, I mean, Mukesh tries telling Om Kapoor, I mean, you better get back to shooting, and he says, don't show me a finger. I can quit this at any point of time, and there is nothing that you will be able to do. That power structure has also shifted over there. Uh, but yes, I mean, Om Shanti Om also doesn't forget to remind us that producer is an important figure. Hence, uh, there is a need for Om Kapoor to actually kind of convince Mukesh, that Mukesh, who has become Mikey now, that this film has to be done. It's only after convincing him that this entire project can take off. A very, I mean, since we are talking about this producer character over here, I mean, it's interesting to note that Om Shanti Om, it actually parodies everyone. It parodies actors, it parodies earlier filmmakers, it parodies earlier films, it parodies music directors, making them only parody themselves, like Bappi Lahiri coming and saying, okay, okay, okay. But it doesn't parody, it doesn't joke, it doesn't make a joke out of producer. And not to miss, producer is the villain in Om Shanti Om. And sometimes I just wonder, uh, is it actually kind of hint? I mean, cinema is an industrial art, and is the industrial aspect or the producer aspect itself the villain for the art that cinema that possibly could be? It has the potential to be, or is that industrial aspect the curse of cinema? I don't know. I mean, is it actually hinting at that, or am I actually kind of overreading as most of my friends think? But the only attempt where actually kind of the film tries to get a bit playful is when actually the maker of Darde Disco's father, actually he has a very, I mean, it's his girlfriend who is the heroine of the film. So it actually kind of and it repeats itself when Mukesh is trying to be very flirtatious with the Dolly character, who is going to play the Shanti Priya in the Om Shanti Om, which Om Kapoor is making. Here, these uh, aspects hint at the gossips that go around about producers actually kind of having these affairs with heroines, etc., etc. And though there are evidences to it, and actually, I mean, since Mukesh Mehra causes the death of the heroine, uh, I would like to remember these gossips that we heard. I mean, when I was young, of Divya Bharti, how her death was almost orchestrated by a producer with whom she had an affair. Whether true or not, I don't know. I don't know who knows or who doesn't know, but it has faded from the memory of the from the public memory. And in a very similar way, interestingly, Mukesh causes the death of Shanti, and nobody knows what the truth is. And over a period of time, the fact of Shanti's death, unnatural death or disappearance, uh, fades from the public memory. So now that actually kind of brings me to actually kind of looking at certain gossips, myths, and history, which actually Om Shanti Om captures. There is a very interesting scene where actually we see the Suraj Barjatia character actually kind of copying the dialogue that is being uttered by Om Prakash. The whole plagiarism stories that we heard. I mean, since I was in the writing course in the film institute, and we had people from the writing fraternity coming in, we used to hear these stories quite a lot, and that's one of the most prominent fears of all writers. Ki yaar chori ho gaya to. Om Shantyam, in a very playful manner, hints at this aspect being there, and it not just invokes these gossips in very interesting manner, Om Shantyam, but it also invokes history, the history of the style. Om Shanti Om begins by invoking the history of the, invoking the style of Kagas Ke Phool. So it actually kind of makes a reference to that. That history is invoked. Okay, that style in which actually, I mean, the entry is made. Uh, it invokes history by actually kind of having those old time films of Sholay, Mughal Azam, uska posters in it, um, in, uh, in the background. It invokes history by recreating a very much discussed story of Sunil Dutt falling in love with Nargis after that fire accident where actually he saved her. That is recreated almost. I mean, that history is actually kind of, that memory is brought alive in the narrative. And history is also I mean, invoked by making Shabana Azmi say that, okay, I mean, यहाँ पे जो slum हटा के मैं ये करने आया, I mean, उसके खिलाफ मैं protest करने आई हूँ. That's something that Shabana Azmi did. I mean, not slum hata ke. I mean, she also fought for the slums, yes, but actually in the national awards, actually she went on stage and said, "What is wrong is wrong." So, okay, that aspect is also kind of, I mean, brought into the narrative. And there is a very interesting dialogue which comes when actually Mukesh and Shanti are having this private conversation where actually she reveals to him about she being pregnant. Just before that, actually, Mukesh says, if I marry, if we tell the world about you being married to me, then forget the dream of becoming, I mean, acting in this film. That one dialogue actually kind of invokes the memory of several actresses who have actually kind of lost on their opportunity after one, just because of when they got married, and how marriage actually kind of comes in the way of these actresses. And of course, there are these other gossips which actually kind of Om Shanti Om actually kind of brings alive, and it actually kind of plays into. Of, okay, I mean, this Kamini ji coming with Dolly, I mean, with her daughter who is actually acting in the film, the mother accompanying this overpowering mother figure. It's something that we have heard of a few actresses, how their mothers actually kind of accompany. Om Shanti Om captures that also. True or not, we don't know. I mean, there are documentary evidences for that, but it's largely a gossip. Okay. Uh, and it also invokes the history by actually kind of showing us the shooting of the film Sacha Jhota, and also the how it actually kind of inserts old films ka footages into this. But all these elements which are actually kind of coming in are not decorative elements. They're not just decorative elements, they're a part of the entire narrative itself. I mean, you can't actually kind of disassociate all these aspects from the main, the crux, the heart of Om Shanti Om. No, they are a part of that heart. As much as these actually kind of make the setting very interesting, the narrative very interesting, these elements are not mere decorative elements. They are also a kind of tribute which actually Om Shanti Om is giving to the culture where actually it locates itself, the legacy that which it follows, the tradition which it's a part of, and it actually gives tribute not just, I mean, you see, I mean, when Sandy meets Om Kapoor for the first time, the entire setting reminds you of Waqt Ne Kiya Kya Hasi Se Tum. The style in which it has been shot, it's a tribute to V.K. Murthy, no doubt. It's a tribute to Gurudat's filmmaking style, no doubt. And the whole song Diwangi, I mean, all those actors coming, it's a tribute given to all the actors, and I mean all the artists who are a part of this industry. The end credit, the end credit is a tribute given to all those small actors, but very important and very prominent actors who are behind the whole art and the craft of filmmaking. These faces who we have never seen, who would just be there and disappear at some point of time. These are the small actors of film industry, the art of filmmaking, who actually kind of Om Shanti Om pays tribute to. And if not to miss, the hero of Om Shanti Om, when it begins, is a side actor. And when he comes in the second half as a major star, there is this one sequence where actually him and Pappu, they are standing on the bridge, and there is a huge flex of Shah Rukh Khan sporting some brand watch over there, and and these two characters very small, and it actually almost says how a small actor has almost disappeared now. And you can see that small character of Pappu. I mean, he was a side actor. Today, he's nothing. Okay, he has just been there earlier at one point of time, and now he has disappeared. And there is no one bothers. And that flex that has come over there of Shah Rukh Khan, it's a printed thing, also hints at some invisible hand of an artist who has disappeared now, who is not, I mean, who's not a part of this culture anymore. Like Pappu, even he has been reduced to nothing now. Okay. And Om Shanti Om pays tribute to that characters, these small actors who make films and who got overpowered by other things which are glossy. Om Shanti Om brings these characters alive, not just in the end credit, but also throughout its film by actually kind of showing, making the side actor the protagonist, by actually kind of making this other, I mean, forgotten side actor, Pappu, a very important catalyst in the film. And Om Shanti Om also pays tribute to earlier films. Like, I mean, there is a dialogue which actually Om Kapoor tells Mikey that this film में drama hai, action hai, ye hai, wo hai. It's invocation of a dialogue from Sholay. The locket that Om Prakash is wearing, that's the locket. I mean, it's a tribute to Amar Akbar Anthony. Bela Makhija making reference to Mughal Azam is a tribute to Mughal Azam. And there is a tribute that is given to the earlier techniques of filmmaking also, like the back projection. I mean, in the film, in the song, Main Agar Kahun, you actually see this very interesting thing where actually they sit on a very static car and there is a back projection of actually a moving images that happens. That was a very what to say. I mean, that was a technique that was used earlier that doesn't exist anymore. That technique is not being put to use now, but still it's a part of the tradition. Om Shanti Om pays tribute to such techniques also. And also, I mean, it pays tribute to this artificiality which is created to create a reality. In the song Jagu Suna Suna Lage, when he actually kind of walks out of that room and suddenly there is a storm, there is rain, and we know it is created. I mean, we can see how it is being actually kind of manufactured over there. That false rain, it's a false storm, and how, I mean, it is being created artificially. And Om Shanti Om pays tribute to those techniques of creating this, I mean, real through artificial. And also, the Om Shanti Om pays its tribute to editing by actually kind of making. I mean, see, I mean, in the last part of the film, the footage of Sandy is being kind of inserted into the footage of the other film. These are editing techniques. I mean, it recognizes how editing operates. I mean, like these techniques. And it's these techniques, I mean, which I mentioned of back projections, all these things, I mean, editing and also this, I mean, artificial creation which actually creates a reality. These are the kind of techniques which actually kind of blurs the line between the real and the real. And in the last sequence, actually, by blurring the blurring of the line comes out in a much clearer manner. Uh, and Om Shantam is not revealing its blurring at that point of time, but actually, it actually kind of plays that trick with us, where we get confused between the real and the unreal Shanti. So clearly the real and the unreal actually gets blurred, even for the audience who till then, till that point of time, have been able to see through the blurring of real and unreal in Om Shanti Om. At that point of time, Om Shanti Om picks that trick up and plays on its audience. And somewhere in that, actually, in that blurring of the line, we realize that the truth explodes. It's a truth which is told through fiction, and that's the truth of the fiction. And by playing the trick, Om Shanti Om tells us that the truth of the fiction by playing the trick on us. Uh, and that last sequence where actually, I mean, the real and the unreal Shanti, we kind of get confused, and then suddenly we kind of realize something that that's a very important scene according to me, and I'll elaborate on that. Because till then the film clearly has been showing us the line between the real and the unreal, and it's showing us by revealing these techniques and paying tribute to that, all of that. The last sequence actually kind of tells that beyond all the, what to say, the technical support a film gets, or the all the planning that goes into a film, still there is a mystery element which no one knows how to capture. There is an unpredictability to the films. How much ever you plan, how much ever technical support you get, there is still a mysterious element to cinema. There is a magic element to cinema. The best of the directors fail sometimes. The most mediocre actually kind of create magic. And what clicks we do not know, and what clicks with the audience we do not know. How certain things happen we do not know. There is a certain mystery element. There is a certain magic element which actually makes or breaks the cinema. Despite all the preparation that has been done, all the planning that has been done, all the technical support that you have got, that magic, that mystery is almost like, um, in the narrative, it is the chandelier falling, it's the frame of, I mean, the photo of Shanti catching fire by itself. And in real, it's like, it's no filmmaker knows whether, I mean, they can do is put effort, whether the film will click or not click, in terms of, in economical terms also, in terms of clicking with the emotion, with the pulse of the audience, with the pulse of the nation, whether will it click or not, nobody knows. Nobody knows the magic sutra. Despite all these other, I mean, it is, I mean, it's a reality which you construct through artificiality, which means that there is, you are in control of everything, but still beyond that control there is something which no one knows how to control. That is the mystery element, that is the magic element. And no one, since no one knows the magic sutra, probably that's why. And because probably, I mean, people want to control that unknown element in the industry, you get into all these superstitions and these rituals of Nariyal Todna, which is again a part of Om Shanti Om, the changing of names by the actors and actresses, which is something again which is a part of Om Shanti Om. We see, I mean, Om Prakash Makhija being told by his friend Pappu कि यार तू अपने नाम के पीछे कपूर खन्ना ऐसा कुछ लगा ले. Them suggesting Govinda Ahuja that यार Ahuja छोड़ दे, सिर्फ गोविंदा रखूं तो चलेगा. It hints at this, I mean, all the superstition, because there is an unknown element. You don't know what actually click, and you are actually kind of gambling. It is a gamble. It's a, I mean, there is a mystery element, there is a magic element. Since, I mean, we have spoken also about the name changing, it's also interesting to note that actually, when Pappu makes that suggestion that तुम्हारे नाम के पीछे कपूर या खन्ना लगा ले, it also hints at it suggests that the family dominances that have been prevalent in Bombay cinema. Though it doesn't hint at nepotism at any level, Om Shanti Om, it hints at the advantages that these family members or people who have a family backing have over others. And that, I mean, Om Shanti Om reveals that or brings that into foreground in the function, in the award function, uh, mm, where actually Om Kapoor tells his father, मैं आपका बेटा नहीं होता तो मैं क्या होता, शायद मेरे हाथ में अवार्ड नहीं ये बाटली होता, something of that. Okay, so it hints at that. uh, and the cinema is magic, not and mysterious, not only in terms of, I mean, what clicks and what not clicks. I mean, there's a magic element even in the fan culture that actually kind of the film culture actually kind of brings into, right? And we see that actually in the way actually the audience, the fan clubs actually kind of construct temples for these major heroes, heroines, and all of them. Uh, and also, and Om Shanti Om shows this kind of audience craze. Uh, not just in the opening sequence where everyone is dancing and Sandy actually kind of almost fainting whenever she sees Om Kapoor in the very beginning. It's all hinting at the fan culture and this craze, the kind of worshipping, this kind of adoration, which is unbearable for the audience. That it hints at that also, and this craze of the fan culture is interlinked in some way to the make belief that cinema creates and the audience buy. It's a transaction. It's a make belief which actually the cinema creates and the audience buys it. Okay. Within the narrative of Om Shanti Om, there is a point where actually mm, Mukesh Mehra has to be convinced about the film Om Shanti Om, and the character Om Kapoor says, "यकीन तो सिर्फ तुमको दिलाना है." The um, the the audience of the make believe Shanti is Mukesh only. So only he needs to be convinced over there. Okay. And whether he gets convinced or not is a different thing. Okay. So this make believe is something which which actually kind of people buy into, and that's what actually kind of creates the fan base, which is what actually kind of creates the fan culture. And Om Shanti Om reveals that in a in a slightly different scene, where actually the character Om Kapoor has to tell Sandy about his reincarnation story. And he says, I was not sure whether you would believe it or not. And fat comes Sandy's reply, where she says, जब तुम 50 माले की मंजिल से कूदते हो मैं यकीन करती हूँ, जब तुम अकेले 100 गुंडों को मारते हो मैं यकीन करती हूँ, तुमको ऐसा क्यों लगा कि इस बात पे मैं यकीन नहीं करूंगी? There is a blind faith that the audience invest. And probably in these two scenes, Om Shanti Om is actually kind of making a case for itself, where actually it says, I mean, where Mukesh Mehra says, Punarjan pe kaun yakin karega? And so it's almost like Om Shanti Om is telling ki, I mean, see, this is a make believe, just buy it. Or probably, I mean, it's, I think it's slightly defensive at that point of time. Mm. So, yeah. Now I'll come to this another, just a couple of things more. This is what once Bachchan Saab said in one of his interviews, that okay, it seems he was his father was an avid film viewer, and he asked like, why do you what is about the Bombay cinema that you enjoy the most? And it seems Harivansh Rai Bachchan, who was a poet, told Amitabh Bachchan that I like the fact that a film delivers poetic justice in just 3 hours. That's a very interesting phrase for me. I mean, poetic justice. uh, I think Bombay cinema has largely struggled between the idea of justice, revenge, and poetic justice. Mm, and I mean, I'll just tell you these two examples, which I find really interesting. Okay, Do Aankhe Bara Haath and this film called Dushman by which Rajesh Khanna acted. They have a different idea of justice altogether, and that's a very human justice. Okay, I mean that's a humanizing idea that they have of poetic justice. And Sholay had two endings, one where actually Gabbar gets killed, and in the other where actually the Gabbar gets handed over to the police. What So this is a constant struggle, probably, I mean, of actually kind of getting caught between revenge and justice. And Om Shanti Om actually kind of probably recognizes this larger memory of the Bombay cinema. So in the end, it's actually struggling whether, okay, I mean, is it Om Kapoor who is going to kill Mukesh Mehra, or then it would be revenge. But it actually kind of taps on to the justice part of it, and then there is the kind of justice. It's not even justice, probably it's a closure. Okay, but that struggle to work, I mean, of constantly getting caught between revenge and justice is something which actually kind of Om Shanti Om invokes. uh, okay, there is one little aspect uh, of actually, I mean, the reflection and revelation that happens in Om Shanti Om. This is purely within the narrative itself. Uh, Om Shanti Om is telling the larger story of Bombay cinema. That's something which I have tried to flesh out in all this while. But it also kind of, it's not just revealing the larger framework within which it's operating, but also it reveals itself constantly. And it's done in a very interesting manner. Like, I mean, the canteen fellow actually telling Om Prakash Makhija, "तू उधार कब चुकाएगा, मतलब इस जन्म में कि अगले जन्म में," which hints at the next janam. Okay. And actually, the character Om Prakash Makhija telling the poster of Deepika Padukone over there, I mean, telling that मुकेश साहब से क्या हो, इस बार मैंने उनको छोड़ दिया, अगले जन्म में कभी पाला उनसे पाला पड़ा तो I'll see to it. Again, that's actually kind of, it's actually kind of foreshadowing. And there is also, I mean, this very interesting revelations that happen. They're like, okay, I mean, Om saying कि जब मैं star बनूंगा ये बंगला खरीद लूंगा, and he gets born in that house. So it's almost actually kind of telling, I mean, this is going to happen. Okay. And there is this one part where actually, I mean, Mukesh and Om Kapoor are having a conversation over Om Shanti Om in the restaurant, and someone brings this. I mean, he gets scared at that point of time. I mean, Om Kapoor and Mukesh Mehra asks, "Are you okay? Okay?" And he says, "No, I'm not okay." At one level, he's saying, "Okay, I'm not okay," and the other level, he's actually saying, "I'm not okay. I'm not Om Kapoor," because at that point of time, he's operating more as Om Prakash Makhija, not Om Kapoor, the reincarnation of Om Prakash Makhija. So, what I tried to kind of tell, I mean, or share in large, I mean, nearly an hour now, is that okay? That Om Shanti Om hints at all the inner stories of Bombay cinema, its gossips, its history, its superstitions, its myths, its culture, its ecosystem, its techniques, its the techniques of filmmaking, the film culture, and somewhere it's actually kind of making itself a peephole into Bombay cinema. And actually, the way Om Prakash Makhija kind of peeps, and I mean, he gets to see the inside story of Mukesh Mehra and Shanti Priya. We also get to know the inside mechanisms, inside stories of Bombay cinema to an extent uh, uh, through this film. I mean, the reference I was making, I mean, actually, I mean, Om Prakash Makhija is standing on in a height, and actually he sees through those glasses, and actually kind of overhears the conversation, right? In a very similar way, we get to know the inside story of Bombay cinema to a large extent. I mean, the shift in techniques, the shift in acting styles, the culture that it used to have earlier, the kind of gossips that goes within, the kind of history it has. We get a glimpse of all of these through Om Shanti Om. Probably that window through which actually Shah Rukh Khan sees for us becomes Om Shanti Om. And in this, probably Om Shanti Om is hinting to us of the voyeuristic quality that cinema usually has. So, all in all, Om Shanti Om to me is a celebration. I mean, of course, I mean, with a pinch of parody and a truck full of playfulness. It has a certain kind of documentation of some elements of Bombay cinema. It is a tribute paid to the Bombay cinema. It is a story which is set in Bombay cinema, and it's a story of Bombay cinema told by Bombay cinema. Hence, I call it the autobiography of Bombay cinema. Thank you. I'm done.
Thank you so much, sir. It was an amazing session, and yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to thank a couple of people. Okay, because these are thoughts which I've held for nearly 10 years now, and I think the initial encouragement for this stream of thought came from two of my friends,
Okay.
Nayani Sandeep and Pallavi Rao. Okay, I mean, I'm eternally grateful to them because that was the kind of push that I kind of required. And of course, I mean, later on, I mean, these other two friends kind of really kind of encouraged me to hold on to these thoughts. I mean, like Pujita and Justin Rao. So I'm thankful to all of. I mean, I need to mention their names, and of course, I mean my teachers Anjum Rajabali and Ashwini Malik, because in several discussions with them, I have actually repeated these stories to them again and again, and then they were like, "Oh, yeah," but yeah, those conversations have helped. I need to acknowledge all of them. Yeah, thank you.
It was an amazing session, really, sir. I heard all of it. It was really good, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for joining us, sir. And thank you so much, everyone. You're on mute, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Okay, thank you, everyone.
And thank you so much, everyone, for joining us with Samvartha, sir. And we'll have future sessions with you, sir. And yeah,
Yeah, I'll be happy to.
yes, sir. Surely, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Yashasvi.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Whitebird Trails. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, everyone. Please follow us on all the social media handles. We are on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, everywhere. So please do follow us. And yeah, thank you so much.